One of the most underrated characters in Harry Potter is Seamus Finnegan, alongside Dean Thomas. I've made a video about the life of Dean Thomas, where I explained his background story and focused more on this amazing character's life. So I thought about doing the same with Seamus Finnegan. Although he had his ups and downs, Seamus was a brilliant character, so let's get into the video. Seamus was born to Muggle Mr. Finnegan and his witch wife. At some point, it was mentioned that Seamus' father had no idea that his wife was a witch before they married, and it came as a nasty shock to him when he found out, but nevertheless accepted it. Seamus came from an Irish family as suggested by his name, and as shown in the Quidditch World Cup he attended just before his 4th year. Seamus had an older cousin named Fergus, who would frequently apparate just to annoy him. Seamus had plans to annoy Fergus back when he passed his apparition test. Seamus arrived at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry on 1st September 1991. All the students in his year included Harry, Ron, Hermione and Draco Malfoy. When Professor McGonagall asked the first years to form a line to head into the Great Hall, Seamus ended up in front of Harry. When Seamus' name was called during the sorting ceremony, he waited for almost a minute before the sorting hat placed him in Gryffindor. After joining the Gryffindor table, Seamus was introduced to the Gryffindor house, Nearly Headless Nick. Seamus asked how one could be nearly headless, which Nick demonstrated by pulling his head off of his neck, which disgusted most of the table. During his first potions lessons the next Friday, Seamus was partnered with Neville Longbottom to brew a boil cure potion. Neville managed to melt Seamus' cauldron. Professor Snape told Seamus to take Neville to the hospital wing, which he did. When the Gryffindor first years learned about their first flying lesson with Madame Hodge, Seamus bragged that in his youth he spent most of his time flying around the countryside. During Charms class on Halloween morning, while practicing, Seamus managed to set fire to their feather with his wand, and Harry had to put it out of his hat. Seamus would have many such experiences throughout his school career. When Harry was preparing for his first Quidditch match, Seamus joined in to try to get Harry to eat something for breakfast. He insisted Harry needed his strength because Seekers were the most frequent target of physical attacks. Out on the pitch, Seamus joined Ron, Hermione, Neville and Dean in the top row of the seats. Before leaving Hogwarts for the Christmas holiday, Seamus lent Harry his wizard chess pieces so Harry could learn how to play. After the new year, Seamus returned for his next term. When Neville arrived in Gryffindor Tower with his legs stuck together, Seamus was among those who burst into laughter. On 1st September, Seamus boarded the Hogwarts Express to begin his 2nd year at school. In Gilderoy Lockhart's first defense against the dark art lesson, in which he showed the class a cage of Cornish pixies, Seamus asked if they were dangerous or not. Instead of giving the class a straight answer, Lockhart showed him by letting them loose. Most of the class, including Seamus, dove for cover and bolted for the door when the bell rang. Seamus' 2nd year was full of rumors about the Chamber of Secrets. During a History of Magic lesson, Seamus asked Professor Binns if anyone other than the heir of Slytherin would be capable of finding the Chamber of Secrets, to which Binns dismissed his concern, saying that no Hogwarts head teacher had ever located the chamber within the castle. Seamus later attended the first meeting of Lockhart's Dueling Club. He was partnered with Ron. At one point, Ron's damaged wand crashed and knocked Seamus to the ground. Ron helped Seamus to his feet, apologizing. When Harry and Draco were chosen to demonstrate blocking spells, Seamus and the rest of the class learned that Harry could speak to snakes. Fortunately, the monster was killed in the chamber, and the threat on the school has ended at the end of Seamus' 2nd year. A few days before the start of Seamus' 3rd year, he arrived in Diagon Alley to purchase his school books. With Dean Thomas, he saw Harry in Quality Quidditch Supplies, where they were ogling the new released Firebolt broomstick. Also in this year, there was another threat on the school, an escaped prisoner from Azkaban, Sirius Black. In Seamus' first potions lesson, he told Ron and Harry that Sirius Black had been spotted near the school, looking excited. After lunch, Seamus had his first defense against the dark arts lesson with Remus Lupin. When Seamus' turn came to face a Boggart, the gnome being turned into a banshee with a floor-length black hair and a skeletal green face, representing his greater inner fear. Seamus used the ridiculous charm to take her voice away. For his participation, Seamus earned 5 house points. On Halloween, Seamus paid his first visit to Hogsmeade. With the rest of the 3rd years, it can be assumed that he largely spent his trip with his best friend Dean. When the Gryffindors learned that Sirius Black had attacked the Fat Lady, they were all sent back to the Great Hall. Once in the hall, they were joined by the other houses in an attempt to keep the students safe. With the rest of Gryffindor, Seamus was outraged by the choice of Sir Cadogan to guard the House Portrait Hall. They claimed that he was the only one who willingly volunteered for the job, as he was unbalanced. Along with most of the school, Seamus went home for the Christmas holidays. When he returned, he was impressed that Harry had received a fire bolt for Christmas. Seamus were also awakened in the boys' dormitory, where Ron announced that Sirius Black had broken into dormitory with a knife. When Professor Lupin resigned at the end of the year, after being exposed as a werewolf, Seamus was among the students who were sorry to see him go, along with the other Gryffindor students. Over the summer of 1984, Seamus and his mother, along with Dean, attended the Quidditch World Cup between Bulgaria and Ireland. Being Irish, the pair obviously supported the latter. At the welcoming feast, Seamus learned that the Trials of the tournament would be held at Hogwarts that year. When Harry's name mysteriously came out of the Goblet of Fire, Seamus was among the students who believed Harry had tricked the goblet into letting him compete. On Christmas Day, Seamus attended the Yellow Boy with Lavender Brown. At the end of this year, things went the wrong way, and Harry eventually claimed the return of Lord Voldemort. A devout reader of the Daily Prophet, Seamus' mother believed what the papers were saying about Harry and Albus Dumbledore, and had been very against allowing Seamus to return to school. On his first night back at school in his 5th year, Seamus got into an argument with Harry about the latest claim on Lord Voldemort's return. After Harry's interview with Rita Skeeter appeared in the Quibbler, Seamus apologized for his behavior. He told Harry that he now believed Voldemort was back, and had sent a copy of Harry's interview to his mother. Seamus and Harry were soon friends again. When the students returned to the school after Christmas break, Dean Thomas led Seamus to attend his first meeting of Dumbledore's army. Seamus was thrilled when he managed to conjure a fall Patronus. When Dobby the house elf arrived to warn the group about Dolores Umbridge pending arrival, Seamus managed to escape with most of the others. In the spring of 1996, Seamus sat his OWL exams. As for Seamus' 6th year, he tried out for the Gryffindor Quidditch team as a chaser. When Katie Bell was sent to St. Mungo's hospital after touching a cursed necklace, Harry thought about Dean Thomas as her replacement, but he was initially against it because he knew Seamus would not like it. When the 6th year learned about apparition lessons, Seamus was among the group of students who were impressed that Harry had already experienced it through side-along apparition with Albus Dumbledore. Seamus was not one of Dumbledore's army members that answered the call to arms when Hogwarts was invaded by Death Eaters, as he didn't keep his Dumbledore's army on himself all the times. After Dumbledore was killed by Severus Snape, Seamus refused to return until after the funeral, wanting to pay his respect and say goodbye to his former headmaster, despite his mother insisting he returned home at once. While Harry, Ron, and Hermione were gone searching for Horcruxes, Seamus returned to the Death Eaters-controlled Hogwarts for his 7th year. He greatly missed his best friend Dean Thomas, who was forced to go on the run because of his presumed Muggle-born status. Seamus was part of the restored Dumbledore's army, who ended up staying in the Room of Requirement to escape the Carrows. Seamus' face was so injured that when Harry returned to the school, Seamus was unrecognizable until he spoke. When Dean entered the Room of Requirements, Seamus Finnegan ran forward and hugged him. They really did miss each other. When Voldemort's army attacked the castle, Seamus was among many of those who stayed to fight. He was charged with blowing up the wooden bridge to prevent Snatchers from entering the school. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Seamus, Luna Lovegood, and Ernie Macmillan saved Harry, Ron, and Hermione from hundreds of Dementors by casting the Patronus to hold them back. Seamus' Patronus was in the form of a fox. Seamus was among the students to witness Hagrid carry Harry's dead body back to the school grounds. We never shouted Dumbledore's army. Seamus was among those in the crowd that roared with cheers, provoking Voldemort. When the second stage of the fighting began and Lord Voldemort himself had stepped in, Seamus also witnessed Harry's final defeat of Lord Voldemort and the end of the Second Wizarding War. He survived the war and was seen sitting with Dean Thomas and Aberforth Dumbledore once the battle had ended. It is unknown what happened to him after the war, and his future wife remains unknown. Although Seamus fought, saved Ron, Hermione, and Harry, keeps Dumbledore's army going, stuck it to the Carrows, and defied his mom to stick up for his friend. This boy does not get the credit he deserves. Sure, he had his flaws, but no one is perfect after all. But Seamus did end up being the perfect example of a true Gryffindor. That was all for today's video. If you wanna watch Dean Thomas live next, please click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.